God will often break you down in order to build you up. He'll take away your strength, and He'll take away what you were trusting in. See, this is so important, folks. This is where many people either go back to their past mistakes, they go back to addictions, they go back into bondage, they reject God for a season. This is why. God often breaks us down to build us back up. We don't like this process, but the refiner's fire, we read about the refiner's fire. Have you read that in the Bible ever? The refiner's fire. Well, guess what? That involves fire and heat. Oh yeah, bring the refiner's fire. You better be careful when you pray that prayer. Because the refiner's fire, he'll begin. How do you draw out things? See, very rarely will a person just be sitting here and go, you know what? I am so prideful and arrogant. God, would you just take that out of me? Yeah, right? But if your spouse leaves you a note and says, I'm not coming home, your boss fires you, and your daughter doesn't even want to speak to you because of your arrogance, your pride, then you'll wake up. Hopefully. What about if a person's making great money? You know what? I think I'm going to quit my job. It's become idolatry in my life. I'm following my job more than God. It's time to give up this huge income. I don't know what we're going to do, but I don't know. Let's just do it. Nope. Usually He has to begin to rip things away from you before you see that it was idolatry. If a person has character issues, right? You know what? I'm this and I'm that, and I've got so many areas to work on. I'm just going to start working on those today. I mean, everybody loves me, but might as well, just start getting rid of this and getting rid of this and getting rid of this. Usually doesn't happen that way. We hear piercing words, or we get upset at certain things, or certain circumstances begin to it's almost like God has that big chisel that started on Shane's shoulders, right, in his head, and begin to chisel those things away. So be careful. This breaking time is absolutely important. This is when you grow. Do you know that I believe it's, I'm not really good in math, so forgive me, but one aspect of algebra and different things is they have to break something down to its lowest common denominator. They break it all the way down in order to build it back up. That's what God does. When you look at people when you see people that you really respect in the Christian faith, what you don't see is their broken leg and their bruised rib cage and their crutches that they're carrying, and they're weeping at home sometimes. And you don't see the refiner's fire, but it's there. You cannot become holy and spirit-filled and mature in the faith unless that fire comes and cleanses you. And the waves of change, when God's changed something in our lives, the waves of change involve being plummeted and tossed and turned. You ever see somebody go into a big wave in the sea? That's the waves of change. When God changes us, there's this tossing around, there's this churning, and I don't like it, and I don't quite understand it fully, but I know that in order to change, in order for us to receive the most from God, that He will often break us down before He builds us up. He'll set us on fire and remove these things. But one thing you can count on, He says, when you pass through the waters, it will not overflow you. When you go through the river, it will not knock you down. When you go through the fire, when you actually go through the fire, those flames will not scorch you. But why? Because He's the fourth man in the fire. The 3 Hebrew boys that were cast into the fire, the king said, why aren't they burning? Is that the fourth man? He looks like the Son of God. He kept them from those flames. The same thing. God says, yes, you'll go through it. Yes, you'll be hard pressed on every side, but not what? Crushed. You'll be perplexed, but not in despair. Persecuted, but not forsaken. And you will be struck down, but you will not be destroyed. That's the Christian faith, folks. We need to wake people up. We need to tell them, we need to teach our sons and daughters it's warfare. There's a battle. There's an enemy of your soul. He's trying to destroy you. He's trying to take you out early. He wants your children. I don't want to hear this. Well, you need to hear it. Because I'm tired of the devil winning too many battles because people are unprepared for spiritual assault. Everybody's talking about the rapture. We'll just be out of here when it gets tough. Go travel to Syria where a mom is watching her son be crucified and her husband shot to death. And you go tell them that. See, that's one thing about this area, even on the rapture note. There's different beliefs and views, of course, but my big concern on this is we're not teaching perseverance. If you say, don't worry, you're out of here before it gets tough, what happens when it gets tough, gets here, and they're not out of here? Could it be that the great falling away, if that is yet to come, is because we're not prepared? We're not warriors. We're not filled with God's Spirit in order to fight. I've talked about this before, but I think it's important again. Do you know how many flowers are crushed before you put this on? Perfume? Do you know what happens to the flower? Go online. Thousands of flowers crushed for a little ounce. Where do you get how do you think your olive on the olive trees feels about your olive oil? Or grape juice. You know how they used to get the grape juice? And have all the juice run down this. That's kind of gross, but that's kind of gross. I even attempted to make homemade almond milk. Those poor almonds. Right? You soak them overnight. They're nice and soft, taking advantage of that. Then put them in a blender. Right? Add more water. Highest speed possible. They don't even look like almonds anymore. It's just white. And then you have to pour it over something with a cloth or a hard steel thing with small little holes in it. And you just got to pound that white stuff until it becomes almond milk. But see, the same thing happens in spirituality. See, we want the blessing, but not the price. We want revival, but not the price. God spoke to me that many years ago. You don't want to pay the price. Do you want to get on your face before God every morning for years until I come? Is that how bad you want me? Do you want your prodigal son or wayward daughter to come back to the Lord? Are you willing to fast? Are you willing to get on your face before God even if it doesn't happen tomorrow? Because you have to fight. There is warfare. That's a characteristic of a genuine believer.